working, exercising and resting well, but also by being good and following the dogma of the church, as well as by respecting areas inhabited by the encantos or spirit beings. Illness was caused not only by germs, unhealthy practices, or the weather, but also by supernatural beings. When we got sick, we prayed. We prayed the rosary and the novenas, and my mom's favorite was Santo Niño and Saint Martin de Porres. My father's family always had San Vicente de Ferrer in Leganes, and we always did that once a year. We consulted and took medicines or injections of our Aunt Nene Doc. We undertook the Pangluya ritual of our Aunt Nana, and our clothes were sent to another manugulong in the barrio for her to determine, see or believe in Kamiraya, what really was causing our illness. We were also made to eat tinolang manok as it facilitates recovery. More serious illnesses would warrant referrals to higher healers, like the Maaram of Tita Alice. Generally, the Maaram is a babaylan who would perform more elaborate rituals. Up to high school, I can remember going to the hospital only once, in contrast to the children of today. And that was to accompany my paternal uncle because he had a stroke. To my young mind, there was no contradiction between the different systems, and of course I did not see them as different systems, as I saw the healthy referrals between the indigenous healers and my Western medicine practicing aunt. The anachronisms arose when I went to pre-medical school here in UP and medical school at West, where culture, in quotations, was given lip service and no serious study or attempts at integration of indigenous concepts into our understanding of health and disease were done. There was advice about being culturally sensitive, but we got the drift that indigenous beliefs and practices were backward, primitive, and unscientific, and so we tended not to talk openly about it. The same was true with our postgraduate psychiatric education. We talked about being culturally relevant all the time, but our efforts to study our cultures had not assumed the same seriousness as our study of neurotransmitters. It was easier, cleaner, and more scientific to embrace Western concepts and impose it on our people than to study our indigenous concepts of health and illness and explore how we could blend into it. Marcella and Westermeyer said that every society has its own set of assumptions about health and disease, and these may vary considerably from the diagnostic and statistical manual used by the American Psychiatric Association, as well as the Filipino psychiatrists, because we are a mental colony of the US, and the International Classification of Diseases by the World Health Organization in the expressive symptomatology and categorical premises. They also said that in non-Western people like us, although we tend to forget this, diagnostic labels may not be as important as understanding observable symptoms and syndrome patterns within the concept of cultural norms. I am sure that this can trigger discussions, but I will not agonize over this diagnostic aspect. I am more interested in discussing why traditional healers can provide a cultural model for us and in fact can be our partners in providing mental health care. This exploration assumes importance when we realize that health-seeking behavior is dictated by concepts of health and disease, of health and illness. To illustrate this, let me share the story of Policarpio, not his real name though, one of our respondents in the first ever baseline regional survey of mental illnesses in the Philippines, which was done here in Western Visayas in 1994. Policarpio was a 44-year-old married farmer from Antique who complained of back pains, which he related to his kidney problems. He also had episodes of restlessness, irritability, and hypersensitivity to noise. He had anxiety symptoms, which were triggered by auditory hallucinations. These were generally non-verbal sounds perceived to be threatening, which were experienced only when he was in his farm. He believed that these experiences were meant to make him crazy. In his own words, he said, "Paumangon ginandataken," because of his refusal to continue his work as a traditional healer. He said that he used to have his anxiety symptoms when he was younger, and that he also behaved as if he were a crazy person, the umanggid, before he became a healer. He recovered when he accepted his calling to be an indigenous healer. However, when he